A diplomatic quagmire, the Saigon on Willis incident. The Saigon on Willis incident in March 2025 sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles. Two Vietnamese officials, while dining at the popular Wellington restaurant, allegedly assaulted female staff members. New Zealand authorities were immediately informed. The incident sparked outrage and ignited a debate about the limits of diplomatic immunity. The alleged assaults, confirmed by the New Zealand police, presented a unique challenge. The officials, shielded by diplomatic immunity, left the country before facing any legal repercussions. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon acknowledged the complexities of the situation, stating that extradition was unlikely. The incident left many questioning the fairness of diplomatic immunity. It highlighted the delicate balance between protecting diplomats and ensuring accountability for potential wrongdoings. The Saigon on Willis incident serves as a stark reminder of the potential for diplomatic immunity to complicate justice. The incident also underscored the importance of clear communication and cooperation between nations in addressing such sensitive matters. The shield of diplomacy, unveiling diplomatic immunity. Diplomatic immunity is a cornerstone of international relations. It is a principle designed to safeguard diplomats from legal prosecution or harassment in the countries where they are posted. This immunity allows diplomats to perform their duties without fear of undue interference or intimidation. Diplomatic immunity is not a blanket protection for any illegal act. It is governed by a set of internationally recognized rules and conventions. The most important of these is the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, adopted in 1961. The Vienna Convention establishes the framework for diplomatic relations between countries. It outlines the privileges and immunities granted to diplomats and their families. This includes immunity from arrest, detention, and criminal prosecution. However, the Convention also acknowledges that diplomatic immunity is not absolute. It allows for the host country to waive immunity in certain circumstances, particularly for serious crimes. The Vienna Convention, a global agreement on diplomatic relations. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations is the bedrock of modern diplomatic practice. Adopted in 1961, it codifies diplomatic immunity and has been ratified by almost every country. Its primary purpose is to ensure the efficient conduct of international relations. It provides a framework for diplomatic relations and defines privileges and immunities. These are designed to protect the interests of the sending state. The Convention balances the sovereignty of the receiving state with the independence of diplomatic missions. It is a testament to diplomacy as a means of peaceful conflict resolution. Modern-day dilemmas, diplomatic immunity in the 21st century. Diplomatic immunity, while crucial for international relations, has faced scrutiny in recent times. Critics argue that it can create a system where diplomats operate above the law, potentially undermining justice. This has led to calls for greater accountability and transparency in cases involving diplomatic misconduct. Recent examples of alleged misconduct by diplomats have brought these concerns to the forefront. In some cases, diplomats accused of serious crimes have been able to avoid prosecution by invoking their immunity. This has fueled public outrage and calls for reform. One proposed reform is to narrow the scope of diplomatic immunity. This could involve limiting immunity to acts performed in the course of official duties. Another suggestion is to make it easier for host countries to waive immunity, particularly in cases involving serious crimes. However, any reform must be carefully considered. Weakening diplomatic immunity too much could have unintended consequences. It could make it more difficult for diplomats to do their jobs effectively, potentially harming international relations. Section 5. The Australian Diplomat, a case of assault and waived immunity. In October 2024, New Zealand faced another case that tested the boundaries of diplomatic immunity. The partner of an Australian diplomat was charged with assault after a brawl in Wellington. The incident, which reportedly involved homophobic slurs, sparked public condemnation. The Australian government, in a move praised by many, decided to waive the diplomatic immunity of the individual involved. This decision allowed the case to proceed through the New Zealand legal system, demonstrating a commitment to accountability. The case was adjourned until January 2025, giving both the prosecution and the defense time to prepare their arguments. The outcome of the case is awaited with keen interest, as it could set a precedent for how similar incidents involving diplomats are handled in the future. The Australian government's decision to waive immunity highlights a growing trend towards greater transparency and accountability in diplomatic matters. It sends a clear message that diplomatic immunity should not be a shield for criminal behaviour. Section 6. The South Korean diplomat, a conviction with delayed justice. The case of South Korean diplomat Hong Kong Kim further illustrates the complexities of diplomatic immunity. In August 2023, Kim was convicted in South Korea of indecent assault against a New Zealand embassy staffer. The offences occurred between 2017 and 2019 while Kim was stationed in New Zealand. Despite being convicted, Kim received a 2-year prison sentence that was delayed. This delay raised concerns that he might avoid serving any jail time. The case fueled criticism that diplomatic immunity can hinder justice for victims. New Zealand authorities expressed disappointment with the sentencing. They had sought Kim's extradition to face charges in New Zealand, but were unsuccessful due to his diplomatic status. The case highlighted the limitations of host countries in holding diplomats accountable for crimes committed on their soil. The Kim case underscores the need for greater international cooperation in addressing diplomatic misconduct. It also raises questions about the adequacy of existing mechanisms to ensure diplomats are held accountable for their actions, regardless of where the offences occur. Section 7. Historical echoes, navigating diplomatic misconduct in New Zealand. New Zealand has grappled with diplomatic immunity issues in the past. In 2014, Malaysian Defence Attaché Muhammad Rizalman was found guilty of stalking a woman. Initially, Rizalman returned to Malaysia, claiming diplomatic immunity. After public outcry, Malaysia sent Rizalman back to face charges. He was sentenced to 9 months home detention. In 2018, EU diplomat Eva Tvaroskova avoided paying lease costs, claiming immunity. This sparked criticism about potential abuse. In 1984, Chilean diplomat Luis Felipe Lopez caused a fatal drunk driving accident. Lopez was granted immunity and returned to Chile. Chile issued a formal apology 26 years later. These cases highlight New Zealand's challenges in balancing diplomatic protection with justice. They underscore the importance of international cooperation in addressing diplomatic misconduct. Section 8. The Malaysian Defence Attaché, a sentence served on distant shores. The case of Muhammad Rizalman, the Malaysian Defence Attaché, presented a unique challenge for New Zealand's justice system. After being accused of serious offences, Rizalman returned to Malaysia, claiming diplomatic immunity. This sparked outrage in New Zealand, with many demanding his return to face justice. The New Zealand government, under immense public pressure, engaged in intensive diplomatic negotiations with Malaysia. The aim was to secure Rizalman's return to New Zealand to face the charges against him. These negotiations proved successful. Malaysia agreed to send Rizalman back to New Zealand, where he was found guilty of stalking and assault. He was sentenced to 9 months home detention. The Rizalman case demonstrated the power of diplomacy and public pressure in holding diplomats accountable, even when they have left the host country. It also highlighted the importance of clear communication and cooperation between nations in resolving such sensitive matters. Section 9. Balancing Act, the delicate equilibrium of protection and accountability. The Saigon on Willis incident, along with other recent examples, underscores the complexities of diplomatic immunity in the 21st century. It highlights the ongoing tension between the need to protect diplomats from harassment and the importance of ensuring accountability for any wrongdoings. Finding the right balance is crucial. Diplomatic immunity is not a personal privilege, but a tool essential for the functioning of international relations. It allows diplomats to perform their duties, often in challenging circumstances, without fear of undue pressure or legal harassment. However, this immunity cannot be absolute. When diplomats are accused of serious crimes, it is in everyone's interest that justice is served. This requires transparency, accountability, and a willingness to waive immunity when warranted. The international community must work together to address these challenges. This includes strengthening existing mechanisms for accountability, promoting greater transparency in cases involving diplomats, and fostering a culture of respect for the laws of host countries. Ultimately, diplomatic immunity should serve its intended purpose.